It's Reefer Madness, the podcast, with Trevor and Kirk.
Kirk, we're back.
Hey, Trevor, how's it going, man? What's new with you?
Um, Good. Instead of boring everybody with smoke details this time, which we still have a lot of in Manitoba, a smoky story led me to an E. coli thing. So they were announcing on the news this morning that a sailing race in Gimli, like a competitive race, got canceled because of smoke. Many moons ago, like late 80s, I used to race sailboards in Gimli, so that instantly brought me back to being a teenager in Gimli, racing sailboards. I was particularly good, but it was a lot of fun. And that brought me to another news thing. Kitsilano Beach in Vancouver got closed down due to too much E. coli, and that brought me back to the early 90s when I've been a geek a long time. So I was working at a particle accelerator at UBC, as you do. But one of the really cool things about that job is sort of being associated with UBC for the summer is they had a windsurfing locker that you could, as sort of a student, you could sign up for. So I could ride my bike down to Kitsilano Beach, and I paid whatever it is, $10 to be a member of the windsurfing club, and could have access to all these boards, and I could go out off of Kitsilano Beach and sail around and because kid from Manitoba doesn't understand the size of the enormous ocean going freighters out there. So each link is the size of of the chain coming out is the size of my sailboard. And more scary that you might not think of for a completely stopped thing, if you are on a craft that is completely powered by the wind, if you go on the other side of one of these things, there's no wind there, like zero. You are freaking stopped, and you are basically beside the side of a steel cliff. And so you do these funny things with your sail to kind of try to paddle air with your sail to get back to the other side and go, okay, don't go in the wind shadow of a ship. Don't go in the wind shadow of a ship, even when they're parked. Anyway, those were things that just sort of caught my attention the last couple of days.
Well, that's a fun story. Sparked me in that comment was E. coli grows in the saltwater brine. I didn't know that.
Apparently they've closed several public beaches around Metro Vancouver due to E. coli.
Story about cannabis as a disinfectant. There was a story, ironically, out of Florida about 3 years ago. I got pitched a story of a fellow that was doing his graduate studies on using cannabis as a disinfectant. He never got back to me. However, the segue to Tarik Sparks from Florida, he did get back to me. I met Tarik on LinkedIn, and over a period of a couple of weeks, we chatted and got back and forth, and we set up an interview. And I chatted with him. It's as you said off air here a couple minutes ago, it's a very casual conversation. Once again, Trevor, I seem to find myself in these conversations with people that should be done face to face over a coffee or beer or a spliff, just casual. And the conversation seems to go everywhere. And so, yeah, it was just a conversation.
Oh yeah, and he's a very pleasant gentleman, and you can feel the excitement and the passion he has for his craft, which is honestly what we're always looking for in a conversation like this. But yeah, and we'll talk more on the way back out. But what I want people to listen for is he has chef training. I even looked this up, and it is Johnson Wales University. And if I've got this right, that's in Providence, which that kind of sounds right, since he said he has lived in the Boston-ish area. And then, so his official, real, think of the Bear television show, honest to goodness chef training, eventually got into using that basically to make cannabis taste good. So listen for his journey on that.
Yeah, I met him on LinkedIn. He's a cannabis educator, culinary storyteller, the founder of Hidden Creations, which he has a web page for. He's a food photographer. He helps brands, techs, and teaches and reaches. He's got a book, an infusion hour. He's got free downloads. I went to his webpage. He's pretty transparent in his story. And yeah, let's just get into a story. We come out and talk about what we learned from him. Unless you got anything else up front to say,
No,
or
no, no. We'll save the rest for afterwards. Listen to Tarik. He's a good conversation.
um, introduce yourself.
All right. Well, my name is Tarik Sparks. I am a photographer, chef, and cannabis educator. And it really began with me when I went to Johnson and Wales University. And I never knew I was going to be a chef. Kind of went there on a whim there. And that opened up a lot of new opportunities to allow me to travel and live outside the country a little bit, and travel outside the country and just meet a lot of different people. My dive into the cannabis industry happened when I went to Alaska. I went to work in Alaska for about 3 months, and I met people from Amsterdam, from Jamaica, from the Netherlands, from Portland, from Oregon, and we were just all there working for, just a seasonal work. And I was just occasionally smoking, or wasn't doing it too often. I met some chefs there who were trying to explain to me that cooking with cannabis can be a lot more than just brownies and baking. And they took me out to one night. We all like went out to the woods and did like a campfire. We grabbed some steaks from the kitchen, and they were cooking like with all the herbs and everything. And then they like infused this butter with all the elements. They really knew what they were doing, and they were like, "This is cooking with cannabis." And I took that, came back to Miami, finished up my college degree, and then I tried learning. I tried doing cooking with cannabis. Couldn't really get it for a little while. Then I met my wife. We were working at a restaurant called Zuma. At that time, I wasn't working in the kitchen anymore. I moved to the front of the house, and she was smoking all the time. I wasn't, but I had this idea, and we started just putting recipes together from the kitchens and what I knew about infusion, and just working in the kitchen. And when I was at school, the biggest thing I wanted to do was be a saucier. So I loved infusing in general with just herbs and how to make a sauce and how to make a ketchup and a barbecue sauce. And there's like it's called the Flavor Bible, which has like all these different like sauces in it. And it just I realized that cooking with cannabis is no different than any other herb. It might take a little different method to get the benefits of it. But I mean, if you wanted to make an infused olive oil without cannabis, it's the exact same process. Same thing with the rosemary oil. And then when you're making sauces, it's all about, you get all your ingredients and you put it in a pot, add some liquid, and you wait. Add some fat, and then you wait. It's the same thing. And as me and my wife kept doing it and making all these recipes, just realized that people, it's not that they don't know if they can cook with cannabis. It's just most people don't think of it as like that as a herb. They sometimes people treat it as, their go-to for the 420 holiday or 710 holiday or just here and there. But I've just realized throughout meeting a lot of people that, you can't smoke forever. There's situations where you could work in corporate, is the kind of like the joke I used to, yeah, I like to tell because I did it for a little while. And like, you have to find out how to just heal, throughout the day and also trying to be in this stressful environment.
So,
So,
Tarek, I'm gonna stop you there, man. Well done. I'm gonna just I'm gonna
okay.
take it. I'm gonna take a step backwards. So, are you a Red Seal chef?
Red Seal Chef, what's
Are
that?
you like Red Shield chef? Are you a chef? Like you started out saying that you worked in kitchens. Are you a chef? What is your
Yeah,
qualifications as a cook? Are you a certified cook? What
yeah,
do you
certified chef. I got my degree at Johnson Wales University, graduated 4-year college
okay.
degree, service management, all that.
In Canada, chefs are a trade, and we have what's called red seals. So you got your 4 years cooking, so you can bake, you can sauce, you can go into a kitchen and be a chef, sort of like the Bear, the TV show The Bear.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so you're a chef.
Yeah, I'm a
Thank.
chef.
Okay, and so you went up to Alaska to work as a chef.
I did.
Okay. And of course, young people up there, I'm sure it's like any touristy area, you met young people from all over the world, and cannabis always follows young people. So, so they taught you how to, so were you a consumer of cannabis? Are you from Miami?
No, I'm not from Miami. Yeah, I kind of jumped through a whole bunch. Uh, not from my. I got work on an elevator pitch there, but not from Miami. I've been here for about 15 years.
Okay.
I was born in Santa Monica, California, but I wouldn't
Okay.
say wouldn't say I'm from there either. Just kind of moved around a lot every few years.
Sure. But you got your training as a chef in Florida?
Correct.
All right. And then you went up north, up to the northern hemisphere kind of thing and learned to apply your craft.
Correct.
And obviously came back to sunshine in Florida.
Yep.
And you're working in a restaurant now and you discovered cannabis as a business, I guess, eh? So it's as much a business as it is a passion for you, cannabis. What's your
Yeah.
relationship with cannabis?
My relationship is I can't stop enjoying how intricate the plant is as just a herb, as a chef. Because I've always kind of thought about this too. Like I never had like any like illnesses where I need to like get into cannabis. For me, it was just like, oh, like I can cook with this and this is really cool.
See,
So I
that's
just
cool for me. That's cool for me because that's what I like to get is where is the passion of the person? And you see the plant as most of our guests is that why God, what a complicated plant. What the things you can do with it. Yeah, you can smoke it, but you can ingest it, but how can you ingest it better? So that's where
Mhm.
you're at, I guess, eh? Is so tell me the services. I noticed on the web you do offer cooking courses and you offer free online resources. So what do you offer people then from Miami and here we are in Canada? What can our listeners do when they get to your webpage? What can they find from your webpage?
Yeah, so the first thing I offer is a free guide. It's basically small sections from the book that I feel when people are ready to no longer smoke or at least are interested in how to even get started. That's the free guide there. It has a couple free recipes on there as well, but it's mostly showing how to break down the bud essentially because it's the first step is understanding that yes, when you go online and you look at, people making edibles, you'll see people doing like 7 grams or like 14 grams. But the reality is, and I don't know how it is in Canada, but down here in some I've seen in other states too, but if you buy a pack of 100 milligrams gummies, they're usually 10 milligrams each, and 100 milligrams, people don't really understand what that is. But if I told you to buy 10% THC, you would never buy it. And it's like it's the same, like 1 gram could equal 100 milligrams. So it's just getting people to understand that and understand that you don't really need a lot, especially now when cannabis is going up to like 26%, 30%, like 1 gram can feed a lot of people.
And
And
it's by weight too, isn't it? It's by weight. When they
yes,
measure THC in a plant, it's the weight of the THC. So when they say it's 26% THC, that's the weight of THC in that gram bud.
right. And then the moisture content loses when you have to decarb it. So it's kind of just teaching people the steps. Do you want to do it in the butter? Do you want to do it in the oil? Okay, cool. Let me show you how to get the math of this, and then let me show you where you can put this in some like easy recipes.
So give us a
And
give us a recipe. How would you decarb cannabis? I got myself a bud of cannabis. It's about I don't know, let's say it's a 30. No, that'd be an ounce, wouldn't it? Let's say I got a quarter ounce of pot that I want to put into a cake. Would that be too much? I guess
would be a
so.
lot. It would be a lot. It would be a
Yeah.
lot. Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, like if you buy when you buy anything, doesn't really matter. Let's just stay with 25%. That number isn't the total THC for all of the blood. It's for 1 gram. So you have to find out what the total THC is for all of it. So if you do, got my little handy and calculator here. So if you do 25% and then you buy, an eighth, 3.5 grams, that total, yeah, that total is 875. I think that's what I wrote there. 875 milligrams for 3.5 grams. So you're like, all right, well, usually when I eat an edible, if I eat one gummy and I only eat 10 milligrams, maybe I don't need the whole 3.5.
Right.
You know, and I think once people understand you can, and I think this is where like the pharmaceutical, like there's people up there that probably smoke weed and they're like, look, like if people understand this, like they're not going to buy as much as we think we need to make, so then people can buy it, and then the whole industry will change. People just grow it at home, so that's basically what you can get when you start off on my website before I go
Okay.
too far. And then if people want to go a little bit further, on my YouTube, I haven't started this yet because I've been wanting to build up a library of telling people, introducing the concept that you can just cook with cannabis before I just start cooking with cannabis. Because once I start cooking, I go into more like chef mode, and it's kind of sometimes a little bit harder to, to do them at the same time. So, but then you can start coming to my YouTube, and then I do teach. I was doing it once a week. I think I'm probably gonna do it like twice a month because I have a 2-year-old now. So it's been learning the new schedule has been new. But we do teach like basic infusions, and people can come on and ask questions because it is cooking. Not everyone was capable of going to culinary school to understand how fast should cook something, what it should taste like, and so forth. So it's a chef approach, and you can do that in a group setting, or we could do it like a one-on-one.
Okay.
So
All right. Let's walk through what I vaguely understand. What I have done in the past is I grow my own. And I usually get an ounce of cannabis, about 30 grams of cannabis in my homegrown, and I put into a pound of butter,
okay,
right? So now there are different ways of doing this. I've tried both. I have decarbed the flour in my oven at
yep,
about 250, and then I take that T carb and I put it into the butter. And then I
correct.
set the butter into a hot water bath overnight, and then I filter it. I've done that. I've also just taken the raw flour and put it directly into the butter
Hmm.
without roasting it first. And I find that I get more of the terpenes and more of the flavonoids from the flour that way.
Yes.
Does that work with your plan? How do you recommend people do it?
Well, it just depends what you want. So if you don't decarb it, you get more of the THCA, which is more of the non-psychoactive properties of the plant. Will you get some psychoactive properties? Yeah, but it's if you're not decarbing, you're saying like, I just want the health benefits of this plant. Just like if you any other plant,
Yeah,
if you don't actually cook it or activate it, or if you yeah, let's just stick with that, then you won't get it. Now, some portion of it, since you're still cooking it inside of the butter, will slowly start to decarb inside of it. And because I'm assuming you can't keep the top on, it's up to you depending on how fast you're doing it. But if you keep the top on, you have like a low rolling bubble. Then the terpenes will stay inside of there, and then the benefits of that you'll feel a lot more. Now,
yeah,
if you decarb it, you won't get as much terpenes, but you will get the psychoactive portion of it. Um, and usually that's what people are looking for when they want like the high of it. And you can do it overnight. The longer you do it, of course, the better. And then the more it reduces, it's better in terms of if you think about making this is culinary, but if you like think about making like caramel, like the longer you cook the sugar, the different colors of the caramel that you'll get. Same thing with cooking the flour. If you do it in 2 hours, will it still be psychoactive? Yeah, if you do it for longer periods of time at a slower, so that's why some people do it with the the slow cooker. I
yeah.
have a gas stove now, and I have a daughter, so like I can't leave things on for extended periods of time versus when I did it before. So the slow cooker can work and you can control the water, as long as it doesn't evaporate out, you could be fine.
Yeah, yeah.
You can also even do, if you do that, well, yeah, you can
Well,
stick
what
with
I
that.
my and I guess what I neglected to tell you is I use a Mason canning jar,
Okay, yeah.
little half pint jar, and I put the flour. I grind my flour. I put it in there. I put that in the oven, so
Hmm.
everything stays in the. And I turn it and turn it. Then I
Yeah.
take that jar. I put the butter in the jar. Then
Yep.
I put the jar into a boiling water or
Like
just
a double
hot
boiler.
water. But the
Yeah.
reason why I do that is it can't, like, I have friends that just put it directly into the butter, and but the butter doesn't get hot enough, right? Because if you get butter up to 200 degrees, it's going to boil and separate, right? And
Well,
you
you could do
get,
it in a if you do it in a double boiler, same concept. You just make sure that the water level is higher than the butter.
but is the
Um,
water going to get hot enough to decarb the butter inside
no,
the
the
flour?
decarbing process will still have to be on the
So you have to
different.
do it in the oven.
You still have to do it in the oven, or you get a machine, but usually most people do it in the oven. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you can do it in
Okay.
a mason jar. I mean, when decarbing it, you're just really trying to make sure that no direct heat is on it, but it's long enough and slow enough where it can start to toast it,
Yeah.
and you can smell it. And what I like to do, especially when doing things like sauces, I usually tell people just to make a brown butter. That way, your butter can stay intact, kind of similar to what you're doing. But you brown the butter a little bit, or you carb the flour. You put the flour inside the pan, and let's say we're gonna do the first sauce we made was a brown butter Alfredo sauce, so we just kept all this together. So after we decarbed our bud in the oven, we just put butter and we grounded up our bud inside of a pan, and then we cooked that together. And now, since the flour's already decarved, now it's just infusing the butter, and then that butter is going to cook and then brown a little bit. It's going to be toasty, nutty. Now you have like a more flavorful butter, and then you kind of just build on top of that. You got your cream, your salt, pepper, your seasonings, your herbs. Cook that down, reduce, and blend it. Now everything is completely combined. You don't have to worry about anything breaking up, and the whole thing is infused.
Right.
You could do that with any sauce. If you're going to just, make everything together. Now, if you're just making the butter, like you said, inside the mason jar, once it's done, you don't have to remove anything. Everything's inside the mason jar. You can, once it's cool, you probably just either pour it out, have your portion, or just put it in the fridge.
Yeah, usually what I do is I put it through a cheesecloth,
Yeah.
and then I've got this green butter that sits in the fridge. And I tend to just make cookies. I like my ginger snaps. But what I want to talk to you about now, I guess, is let's go a little deeper. What other oils do you use now that we've decarbed it? And like you said, if you want to decarb it to get the cannabinoids, acid forms out, you want to put it in an environment where it reaches what, 200 degrees? What do you recommend?
The lowest your oven can do it. I mean, most ovens, my gas oven only goes to like 240. I think most ovens are around there.
Yeah.
You want to do it for as low and as a minimum two
Slow.
hours, as
Yeah.
low as your oven can do it. Sometimes people recommend keeping the oven open. Now that I have a daughter, I'm like, that's up to you. Before like, yeah,
Yeah.
just keep it open. But
Children
like,
change everything, man. Children
children change
change.
everything. You
Yeah.
know,
So
so.
you've got your
uh,
decarb flour. You also talked about the acid form as well. So you must cook with the raw flour as well.
I don't have access to raw flour. We're in a legal state or in a medical state, so I always just end up getting either shake or just the flour itself. Even now, I even switched over to doing things in like distillate or RSO. But when I was doing it with the flour, it was just mostly the flour from a dispensary. So
Okay, so let's talk about your business. It's a medical state. We've interviewed several people from Florida lately. It seems to be a state that I find a lot of cannabis people, but you're in a medicinal state. It's not recreational. So
not recreation.
how do you have a business in a medicinal state as a cannabis chef?
Well, I'm not selling any weed.
Okay,
I'm selling a book. I'm
knowledge.
selling one-on-one conversations. The interesting thing about Florida is that, if someone wants to throw a private event, someone wants to throw a private event, So Yeah,
So
Florida's weird.
can you then arrive as a caterer and produce cannabis infused foods at a private event?
Yep, yep.
Is that a I can edit this if you want me to, but is this a gray area or is this fully out? No, and oh,
I
people just don't care.
I just don't think people care. I mean, and I've had, like, but you don't know, but I've had to deal with this quite a bit because it took me a long time to be like, yo, like I'm a little afraid to talk about this openly, but then like it's kind of getting ridiculous when you start going to like these events and it's like these people are just selling weed, not like medical state, medical dispensary, people selling weed. It's 4 o'clock in the afternoon. You got armed security outside. Okay, well, looks like we're good. I mean, this area is called Wynwood where you can quite literally just walk down the street and smoke, and it's been like that for years. So, am I going that length? No. Do I see it happen all the time? Yeah. So I mean, I just had to change the fact of how I become vocal about what I do. But my viewpoint of it is I'm not trying to sell you weed. I'm trying to show you how to do it differently. So at some point in your life, when you want to cook with this, I can show you how to take your favorite recipe that maybe your grandmother gave you or some traditional, whatever. It doesn't need to even
Yeah.
be that deep. But I mean, like whatever it is, like how you can make this into an experience too.
Are you a
So
medicinal user? Are you a medicinal consumer?
yeah, yeah, I have my card. Yeah, it's always better to be
Oh,
safe.
no, that's what I'm saying. So you have given yourself a cushion. Okay. So
Yeah, yeah,
when you're playing in your kitchen, if someone decides to, classic TV show bash into your house, you've got,
right.
hey buddy, I got a certificate.
I got a
Okay.
certificate.
I'm really sorry. I keep cutting you off, but I'm trying to find the story here. So now we've got our decarbed cannabis. Give me some recipes. How do you use it? Do you always use butter? What other oils could you use?
Yeah, so let's start with the first one that I learned before we even go to the butter. So the first thing that we learned was something called Green Dragon, which seems like it was around forever. So the fastest way uh, to make it's called a tincture, but like an infusion is going to be with alcohol.
Yep.
It's Everclear alcohol. It is a little dangerous, not gonna lie, because you're cooking alcohol in the stove.
Well,
So yeah,
180 proof alcohol is 90%. So that's pretty tight. You're talking about Everclear, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So you're cooking out the alcohol. So you're not actually ingesting a lot of the alcohol. You're cooking it out, but it is the fastest. You would decarb your flour in the oven like you would normally do. And then same thing with how you do a basically a double boiler. You would put in 1 ounce of your Everclear into your double boiler, and then you would put your flour in there, and then you would cook it up to 170 degrees, and then it's done. That's it. Takes 15 minutes.
So you cook the alcohol out of it.
You cook it, yeah, cook it all the way out. Once it gets to 170 degrees, cut it off because it's reducing, which does make it concentrated, and that version of that turns into something called an RSO. But you're not trying to do that. You're just trying to get the all the cannabinoids and the THC into the Everclear. So the cool thing about that is once you're done with that Everclear, and what we started doing is we put the cannabis inside of tea bags because it makes it a lot easier for us to discard it or keep it. If we dry that out, you can actually take that bag and put it into anything and it'll infuse it because I just no matter what happens, you can't squeeze out all the butter that is absorbed in the plant and all the cannabinoids that's also absorbed in the plant and all the alcohol. So if you were going, we took that and we made it into a seasoning. So say like your favorite seasoning is Mrs. Dash complete seasoning. I don't know, right? If you actually take that cannabis tea bag and put that inside of there, the THC will actually be absorbed with the rest of the seasoning, and now that seasoning can be used for your food. So now you have infused seasoning. So you can make a tincture, and then you can have infused seasoning is one way you can do it. When you're done with the butter, same thing. You can actually take after you made, you said you had like 30 grams. So after you squeeze out all the butter that you possibly could, I would tell you to don't even throw that away. Get some more butter. Just put the other thing back. Like literally just take that, just put it back on there with some butter and let it reduce again. And it might not be as strong, but you'll definitely have way more than if you didn't
Yeah,
because
yeah.
you just can't squeeze it out. So
That's good.
sauces
That's
are
a good tip. That's a good tip.
it's so helpful. Because I was like throwing all this stuff away, and I was like, wait a minute, can I still use this? And like I was like, oh wow, like this is great. So that we turn it into seasonings, salts, which has been really helpful.
Can I go back to the Green Dragon? Um, if you decarb your cannabis and just let it sit in a small bottle of Everclear at 90%, won't the alcohol leach out the cannabinoids?
um, I think so. I've heard this before, but I don't let it sit, you're cooking it. Now I know in the past I have read that in the older way of making a tincture was just to let it sit for a long period of time inside of it. So I have to imagine over time the alcohol just evaporates.
Yeah.
But I don't think the THC itself is going to.
Or it won't evaporate. I guess I'm asking you as a cook, as a chef, because I've done this and I've made Green Dragon and I don't think it's any secret out here in the prairies. Most farms have their own stills. So
Yeah,
access to prairie sunshine or what you'd call moonshine is very easy out here.
yeah,
So Green Dragon is something that I've seen, but I haven't. I'm trying to figure out what's the advantage of heating the alcohol with the tincture. Does the alcohol then help in the process of taking the cannabinoids off the green stuff off the plant? Like
yeah.
is that what happens? The heat and the
It's
alcohol?
like an absorption. I haven't made it in a while, to be honest with you, but it just there's no fat in the alcohol. So by cooking it, I think it just strips it away and
Okay.
it's able to just hold on to it. And because you're cooking it to the point of boiling, the highest portion of the alcohol starts to strip away. Now, is it going to be as easy to take versus an oil? No, but if you needed something quick, and will it work? Yes.
Okay.
Now
So then
upstairs,
you would take
yeah,
that tincture then, and then you
mhm,
would apply that tincture to different foods.
to different foods, just absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. Or what you can do is, again, if you're in a pinch, you can just take that tincture. You can melt down just regular butter, and let's say you had ice cubes, you could just pour the butter inside the ice cube and the tincture, and then just squirt in, or just put in 1 milliliter, and then you could kind of do the math on what that would be. But then you'll have it already um, portioned out. Versus if you do it with the butter, you kind of have to do it the opposite way. You have to make the butter, portion it out, and then weigh it to kind of see what the weight is to equal what the THC would be.
Right. That's very interesting. Okay. Again, I'm sorry I keep interrupting you.
No,
Carry
no,
on.
this
So,
no, I'm
so
with
we,
it.
we've talked about using butter. What other oils do you use in your cooking?
So I started we in the past we were using grapeseed oil, and now I'm realizing that I can use different oils. But for the longest time, we used grapeseed oils because when I was in the kitchen, we always use grapeseed oil because of the high proof, the smoke point. Most people are not going to cook up to the level of burning grapeseed oil. So since I was like, well, people are probably going to be new to cooking this, I want to make sure that they won't burn off any of the cannabinoids. So let me give them something that has a high proof smoke point. So we did grapeseed oil. With that, we made dressings. We made bread. My wife is a pastry chef from Johnson Wales too, so we both have our
That's handy.
super handy. Yeah, so we both have a degree. So we've done dinners in the past as well. So when she makes like the focaccia bread, she will infuse like olive oil. We've done herb oil, and then we put that oil inside of the bread. Yeah,
Sorry, keep rolling that. I got a radio that turns on automatically at one. Sorry about that.
no,
Technology
all good,
kills
bro.
me.
All good,
So
all good.
your wife's a pastry chef. You guys have done parties. Go ahead.
Yeah, we've done quite a few parties up to like 20 people. So that those are fun. And so
So
sometimes I bring a friend on.
so this is getting back to your business then. So you have a shingle and you advertise as a cannabis cook. You and your wife are cannabis specialists. So like, Miami Beach. You guys are living in Miami. So I'm
Yep.
I'm picturing I'm picturing pastels and lots of expensive cars and mansions built in the 50s, right? So
Yeah.
so you get called out to a house and you guys go into this big kitchen and you've got your prep and you tell me, give me a story. Give me a story about
Okay,
being a
yeah.
cook.
Yeah. So a friend contacted us. He said that we wanted to do, oh wait, specifically, I had a friend that was turning 25 years old, and he was like, I want I want 25 different sauces for my birthday. I was like, what? He goes, yeah, I want 25 different sauces. It was a ridiculous ask, but he gave me enough time and I did not use it properly. I made all these sauces probably like 48 hours before. It was not the best, but we did it. And what he wanted was he was gonna order like pizza and wings and then have people put the different sauces on it and they were all infused. So they were only infused like 15 milligrams for the whole thing, but there was a lot of different combinations you can do. So then it was teriyaki sauce and I don't know, just a lot of different sauce. So there's that example. Another example is we in the past we've done the 5 course dinners. So we'll do a salad course, a bread course, and then two like a appetizer, main, and then a dessert. Usually my wife will make the dessert, and she'll make the bread from scratch. I make all the sauces from scratch when we have the time. I went up to New York before for my sister's birthday. Did some dinners up there, two dinners. So yeah, I mean we've it just depends what people want, you know. I don't want to food is interesting, but Miami is kind of weird when it comes to food. It just seems like everyone's doing the same thing because it's still working, and it's to me it's starting to get a little boring because it's like, oh, it's a new restaurant, and then like it's like, okay, cool, sashimi, big ice platter. So it's just trying to find ways that I enjoy eating whatever I enjoy eating at the time and having people see that and then allowing people to see it through like, oh, like this food tastes good. It doesn't taste like weed, and I'm going to get the benefit of it. It's great. So usually when it comes to dinners, also we find out if people have any allergies. I can always change the menu depending on that and the dosing. Usually when we do the 5 courses, we give people 50 milligrams. If they don't want the 50 milligrams, we can either do like half of it or just do, excuse me, half of it THC, the other half CBD. And we usually always have a CBD drink there just in case someone just wants to feel better and not trying to get stoned or just really high, because
So
it's interesting.
are most of your foods that you make then sauces when you infuse
No.
cannabis? So like obviously you can put cannabis in a brownie. I mean
Mm.
that's stereotypical. But can you do a fried chicken with cannabis sprinkled on as one of the seven herbs and spices? And like
You could,
yeah,
yeah. If you do the green dragon tincture, then you have the tea bag left over. You could make an urban spice. You can make urban spices, put the bag inside, and then let the herbs absorb the THC, and then use that to sprinkle on. Or you could just, I just like sauces because they're easier to do, and everyone for the most part has a sauce for something.
okay.
So if you're we did let's see, we did like a
This
cauliflower dish before. We did like a sweet pea sauce at the bottom of it. We do like a herb butter on top of it. So it just depends on what the dish is. I'm trying to think the last dinner we did. The last thing we did focaccia bread and the oil was on the bread and we did balsamic and microgreens on top. And then we did chicken skewers chicken pesto skewers. The THC was in the pesto. Um, then we did a waffle to go with that, and I think the THC was a tincture.
Okay.
So
Very cool. I mean, is there anything you do with the cannabis? Like I know that some chefs we've talked to have said that some people don't like the green chlorophyll taste of cannabis, right? So now I'm thinking, is it amylase or lysine that they put in with the cannabis? Have you heard of using that? That it
I,
extracts it out?
no, I don't worry about it
Okay.
because my background is a chef. So because I know people usually don't like the taste of cannabis, I just make sure it's not there.
Okay.
And since I've always gone to it as making like a sauce. I always try to make sure that the cannabis is layered into it. So just depending on what the dish is, the THC might not need to be at the very beginning. It could just be a tincture. It could be a garlic herb tincture.
Okay.
Like we made like a confit garlic tincture with olive oil, and you just put it on top to enhance the dish.
Okay.
So yeah, there's going to be some THC undertone to it, which people are always looking for it anyway. Like it's so funny, like people don't want it, but then I was like, is it there? And then like they feel that it's there later on. But yeah, I mean, and it's understandable. I mean, most people started their cannabis journey eating a bad brownie or cookie.
And they
You
green out and
know,
they green out. Yeah.
right?
So,
Yeah,
so let me again walk through a scenario. So, I want to hire you and I want a 7 course meal. So you might start with a aperitif that has a little bit of cannabis in it. You might start with a salad with dressing that has cannabis in it. So at the end of the day, you've got to really know your dosing, I guess, right? So
yeah.
you must buy medicinal flour then you must and that so therefore it's weighed out for you and
Mhm.
you're making 15 courses, so you must be able to say to people, if you use a tablespoon of this salad dressing, you're getting 5 milligrams. If you use a tablespoon of that sauce for your cauliflower, you're getting another five. Is that sort of how you dose?
Yeah, most of the time I usually do tinctures. So when we've done the dinners in the past, what we started doing is we might focus on one or two flowers because again, you don't really need that much. So it's just trying to educate people so they can understand what they're going to get, and then allowing people if they want to go further, it's available for them on the table. So like
Okay.
each dish might only have 5 milligrams throughout everything. And then on the table, there might be a tincture or a sauce to go with that if they want to add more, or a seasoning if they want to add more. When we did and gosh, when we did a what's it called? A Caesar dressing, I infused breadcrumbs. So then if people wanted to add breadcrumbs onto it that was infused, and I was like, okay, cool, a spoonful of this is about 5 to 10 milligrams, completely up to you. So that way people don't have to go overboard. I control 5 milligrams usually with the tincture in the background. And then just allow people to do that. If my wife is going to make a bread, we might put a herb butter on the table. So then people, if they want a 5 milligram butter, they can just grab that and put it on them themselves as well. But usually when we're focusing on the when we have a dinner, we'll start off what I call a victory joint. Everyone gets a joint because I've realized that no matter how much THC is in a dinner, smokers are going to smoke because we want to smoke. Like yeah, I want to get high, but that's going to take an hour, so I'm going to go smoke so I can enjoy this. So we walk people through the herb that we're going to be in, that's going to be in the food. We let people know the terpenes that are going to be inside of it because most people have never had like a tasting. I'm a really firm believer that cannabis will turn into wine. I believe that once cannabis is able to grow in the same regions that the soil that grapes are grown in, like we're gonna have some really beautiful stuff in the future. Like you get Blue Dream grown in Champagne is definitely gonna be different than Blue Dream grown in California or Canada.
Sure.
So, we do like a dry pull, let people know what we can taste, the flavor profile of that, where we're gonna, where it's gonna be in the dish, and let people understand that. And then we go out to the back, smoke, kind of allow people to feel a little more comfortable because not everyone always knows each other. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And I'm not trying to get people to smoke the whole joint, it's just more like a tasting. We can come back to the
Sure.
table. And then we start them off on either the salad or bread course. And then we kind of just go from there.
And do you have alcohol served at the same time, or is it strictly a cannabis experience?
It's mostly cannabis. I don't really, I mean, if they ask for it, which usually they don't, but like if they want to bring alcohol, that's on them. Most times when I've done it at my friend's restaurant, she has a coffee area, so she make coffees or we do mocktails. Usually the mocktails, if they want it, can have CBD in it, but there's no alcohol. That's up
Yeah.
to them.
It's fascinating what you're telling me here because I'm trying to get my head around the fact that you work in a medicinal state, but yet you're behaving as if cannabis is legal, and it's sort of like pre-legalization in Canada, right? Before cannabis was legal in Canada, cannabis was everywhere. With
Mm,
legalization of cannabis, we've got more regulations. For example, in the province of Manitoba, where I live, um, there's no public consumption of cannabis at all.
Oh
right?
wow.
There's none. I mean, we are a legal province, recreational medicinal, we're legal. I can grow cannabis in my house now. I'm not allowed to grow it outside unless I have a medicinal license. But having said that, and I've talked to government officials, so I'm not speaking out of turn here. We're not allowed to consume it. So, for example, for us to have a cannabis infused dinner, we would have to do it in a domicile. We'd have to do it in a house. We
Okay.
cannot do it in a business. We have things called socials in Manitoba,
Okay.
where we can go have a social and we get a liquor license and we can have all the booze we want with the promise people are going to drive home sober, right? But we're
Right.
not. But we're not allowed to have a cannabis social in this province. And here you're telling me like I mean, come on, the states, Miami. I'm thinking, it's not the easiest state to live in from the propaganda we hear in Canada about Miami and
Yeah.
Florida. It's a very conservative state. And here you are, you have a cannabis business. There's cannabis everywhere. You're doing parties with cannabis. That's an illegal state. I find that fascinating.
I find it fascinating too. And it again, when you're like trying so hard to make sure you're not seeing it, then you start seeing people come in and doing all this stuff. It's kind of like, okay, well, let me just stay in this kind of gray area. Because I mean, I see all this stuff all the time. People's businesses are especially like the social media is getting taken down. And I've been fortunate enough because I'm strictly staying in just the education portion of things. If people want to talk about what else they could do, we can jump on a phone call, we can get on an email. Of course, all those things are there, but I'm not trying to sell you weed. You know what I mean? And I think because of that, and I don't know why dispensaries are getting shut down, but like just like how I'm doing here. This is what I do. This is how you can educate it. This is how you can transform it. This is how you can do. My YouTube hasn't been shutting down. My Instagram has not been taken down.
But I picture you and your wife and your baby between you, traveling down the road in this little minivan, and you've got all your tinctures and everything in the back, and you got your white coat, you got your chef hat, and you
That's so
guys,
funny. As soon as you said my daughter, she comes in here. She just woke up from her nap. Hey, Sadie.
wonderful. Hello, that's wonderful. But I just picture you guys walking into the hello there. Aren't you a cutie? I picture you guys going in the back entrance into some guy's kitchen with all your paraphernalia, cooking up cannabis, and it floors me that you can do that. I think that's fantastic. I think I think we could do it here, but we'd have to be doing it in people's homes. We'd have to
Yeah.
offer it in people's homes.
Yeah, that's what the private events usually like. My friend has a restaurant. She shut the restaurant down for a private event. What happened at
Yep.
private events? Whatever they want to do at the private event. As long as it's not a general open thing, it's fine. So there's a lot of stuff that happens in private in Miami
Right.
that keeps
Well,
happening in Miami.
well, don't
And
we know, man? Don't we know?
right,
We hear
so
it, we read about it in world news all the time.
all the
Florida,
time,
man.
yeah, it's weird. But you know, for the sake of me wanting to be in longevity of this plant that seems to just listen to everyone all the time and find a way to be like, yo, I got cousins and nieces and uncles and Delta 8, THC, whatever you need, I got,
Very
it
cool,
keeps
man.
surviving and wants to be here. And I just can't stop learning about it. So
Yeah.
can't stop taking photos of it, can't stop learning about it.
Well, I
I was
saw that you're also a photographer. So you're also a photographer of pictures, but sorry, photographers of cannabis. So you go out of your way to take pictures of cannabis. So you must know if you grow ups.
Not yet. I will though. Not yet. That part has been new because I haven't. And I was working in dispensaries for about a year, and then in the flowers have been getting a lot better now. So more so recently, I've been taking more photos of cannabis. But I mean, like it's just I don't know. The plant is just so interesting. I've always loved studying about it and then like learning how far it's gone. And fortunately, which I'm pretty sure just being in the industry, those bad things will happen. But I know my goal is to educate people for when they at which everyone gets to at some point no longer smoke as much as they used to in their 20s or 30s or 40s or
Right.
50s or 60s, but they like the benefits of the plant. The lifestyle might have changed, I have a kid around. I can't just go outside and smoke anymore. I gotta go have a tincture. I gotta make sure this tincture is childproof. I gotta
Fair enough.
make sure this is in a different area so no accidents happen. So that's the goal for me. And then if someone wants to have a dinner, if someone wants to move forward with that, it's want to make sure that I'm available for that resource.
Fantastic. I won't keep it much longer. Is there any question I didn't ask you? Is there anything you would like our audience to know?
Um, no, I mean, well, I did not start off knowing how to cook. I think that's kind of important to know because for me, it's always funny that I'm now trying to teach people how to cook. And I've learned that everyone to some degree, I feel like honestly, everyone knows how to cook. I feel like people don't know when to take things off the oven, off the stovetop, so it doesn't burn. And I
Yeah.
feel like if I can showcase those areas so then you can have a better dish, so you can have a better experience, then you can have a more enjoyable experience with the plant that you love. If you're watching this and you love the plant, hands down. So, I mean, I think that's the irony of it. Like, so if you don't know how to cook, don't worry. Like, I can show you how to make something better. And I
There's a
love
lot
that.
of ironies in your story, man. As I've talked to you, there's lots of ironies in this story. Couple technical things. Are you okay with your daughter being on the video? Like I plan to post
Yeah,
this on YouTube. Are you okay with your daughter being on the video?
yeah, it happened how it happened. It's all good.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm looking at probably 7 weeks. We have
Okay.
3 other episodes that are on the shelf. So probably the end of August, give or take, is when your story will go up.
Okay.
Uh, and what I ask of you is that once your story goes up, is to share obviously on your social media. We share on our social media. Our project is very much a passion project, so we are learning to do this, and we are getting distributed by word of mouth. You can understand that Meta does not promote cannabis, so we can't get any traction on social media. So we have to depend on our listeners to share. So if you like our episode, pass it on to friends. There's one that we do. I think it was about 6 years ago. We did an episode on cooking with cannabis. We did it from our house. Um, we recorded it, and this was 2018. I think it was a week after legalization. We had a cooking segment in our house, so you can listen to that episode, and
Okay.
then just pass it on. Let people know that you discovered this Canadian podcast that's worth listening to. I'm a nurse, right? My buddy's a pharmacist, right? So we're look.
Okay. Okay. Ah.
Yeah. So that's the whole point of what we do. We do it from a medicinal perspective as much as studying society. So your episode for me is this cook that knows how to cook cannabis in an illegal state. I think it's fascinating. As long as it doesn't get you in trouble.
Yeah, man. I mean, there's so many things already against me. So I got to do what I like, what I love, teach.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it finds the right people like yourself, and like it's not. That's why I'm okay with having my daughter here, who just happened to walk in as soon as you said her name. Because the plant isn't trying to harm you. The plant is saying, "Hey, if this can help, maybe I can help." And I'm like, "Well, maybe I can help too." So I just
Well, I'll
want to
tell
be
you,
part.
man, I've done enough research to know that cannabis is not a threat to children, and I'll say that as a registered nurse. The cannabis is not a threat to children. There's nothing in cannabis that's going to harm your child. She may have a very, very bad experience, like tired and sleep for a day and a half, but it's not going to kill her, man. There's nothing in cannabis that's going to kill her. So, and that's part of the propaganda of cannabis, right? The devil's weed. So.
Yeah, yeah. Gotta
Anyways,
read.
I thank you. I thank you so much for reaching out. I really had no clue what I was going to get myself into. I just figured, you know what, I'm gonna take this guy on and see what he tells us. And I enjoyed the story. It was a good story.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Yeah, we were kind of missing each other a little bit there, going back and forth between trying to find the days, but it worked out beautifully. So, man, I'm
Yeah.
glad that the time worked out and we were able to sit down and talk and maybe I can come to Canada one day.
Well,
We'll
well,
see.
there's a lot of Yanks coming up north, let me tell you.
Yeah. Yeah, we're
But
all trying to find somewhere. Just
yeah,
Elon Musk
well,
looks it bad.
I guess I shouldn't have said Yank for a Florida person. You guys aren't Yanks down there, right? Yanks are the northern people.
Yeah, but I mean, I've realized once you go a little, no, everyone's a Yankee. So I mean, I get it. Yeah,
All right.
most of my family's from Boston, so
Okay, all right.
yeah, I get
Well, that
it.
Boston has a rich history, rich history. Yep. All right, man. I enjoyed this conversation. Like I said, I probably late August. I'll let Trevor know. I didn't even let Trevor know we were doing this. I let him know that I had this interesting conversation, and he'll listen in, and we'll do a wrap probably beginning of August. So yeah, all I can ask from you is learn about our podcast, listen to a few, go to our webpage. That's the best place. If you go
Okay,
to our webpage, you can go to you can search by topic as well as person and stuff. So yeah, we've had some really amazing guests and some cool topics. So you're adding to our voice.
perfect, perfect. And then lastly, once again, my name is Tarik Sparks. You can find me on my website. It's called The Hidden Creation. We thought it was funny to do like a THC little blurb there too. So, but as I've been doing it more, I've realized that the hidden creation is kind of almost like a philosophy, and things are hidden until you realize what they can be. And that's, oh, thank you, Sage. And that could be having a kid and wasn't expecting a kid. It could be learning to cook and you didn't know that you were gonna, learn how to cook. And, I just want to be part of the conversation of finding what, if you're into food, photography, and we can find out what that hidden creation is for you, and I'd love to help. So
Fantastic. Well, thank you for your story.
thank you,
Be
man. We'll
safe.
talk soon.
Peace and
Peace.
love, man.
Say bye, Sage.
Bye. See you, mate.
See you.
So, so the conversation ends with his 2-year-old daughter sitting on his lap. Now, the audio podcast may not see that, um, but as you can sort of see at the end, we sort of come out of the conversation and it keeps carrying on. Once again, I think at that point we would have got up and got another cup of coffee or another beer and continued our conversation.
Yeah, but yeah, I think that leads well into this. So we talked to Tariq, but it does seem to be a family affair with the hidden creation. Like the book is him and his wife, the pastry chef, Anne Marie and Tariq Sparks. But yeah, so some of the things that got me all excited was chicken pesto skewers, where the cannabis was in the pesto. That that sounds really good. I would eat that.
Yeah, no, it seems to me I don't have the cookbook. I did download his free service about how to decarb cannabis. I downloaded that. It was a little it took a lot of clicks, but I downloaded it. It's interesting. But from the conversation, I got the impression that he likes to make his sauces. And that's where I got the impression is a lot of his creations are sauces to pour. And I think that sort of works with my understanding of the number of times we've cooked with cannabis is it's so much easier to make the cannabis infusion in a sauce.
Well, and that's what he said is, he's done other things, but one of the things that he loved in his training was being a saucier. And honestly, I had to look that up too after he mentioned it, but basically a sauce specialist. So that makes sense. And I was talking at the beginning, and I just want to hit on more now about the whole difference between cooking with cannabis and making things taste good. So a guy, another podcaster, Doctor Michael Greger, you pointed me at Nutrition Facts podcast, and I eventually bought his cookbook. Basically, his whole premise is more plant-based stuff, and you'll be healthier, which is true. So I bought and used his cookbook, How Not to Die. Great name, and the recipes are fine. But then if I get Jamie Oliver's cookbook, an actual chef who's worked in kitchens, yada yada, and look at his vegetarian section, they taste better because they were developed by a chef. And then sort of a plug for a Canadian group. This is a few years ago. We had Richard Beliveau, PhD, and Denis Gingras, PhD. They had a book called Cooking with Foods That Fight Cancer. Honestly, not quite as catchy as How Not to Die, but now, if you had two PhDs, you might think the recipes were, they just want to throw a bunch of stuff in there. But no, they made the ingredient list and then handed it off to chefs all over Quebec, and the stuff in there again tastes really good. So there's a difference between cooking with cannabis and having someone with training taking the ingredients and making them taste good. So I think it is really good that we have Tarik and his wife Anne Marie out there making cannabis stuff taste good.
You know, your story just took me is going to take me into another rabbit hole here about nutrition, and again, trying to make this clinical, right? As a nurse, when I first started nursing, I went to a very small town, Laklabish, small town, Alberta. We've done stories from there. Worked in a very small hospital, lived in a nursing residence, and I think it was Mrs. Carpets, because in those days everyone was Mrs. She would have been probably my age now then. She was the cook. And in those days, her husband would bag a moose and she would bring moose in and we would feed people in the hospital moose meat, right? And her foods, I mean, when I lived in nursing residence, I pretty much ate at the cafeteria at the hospital because Mrs. Carpet's foods were home cooked foods. We built a brand new hospital in the small town, and they brought in a dietitian and people with education on how to cook and food. And I got to tell you, the quality of the taste and the flavor of the food wasn't there. No,
Right.
I don't want to besmirch dietitians. I just don't want to do that. But how many times I've talked to people who have got dietitians involved, and the food that is recommended isn't necessarily tasty. It may have a lot of fish oil in it. It might make you better. It might, prevent you from dying young, but it just didn't taste good. So I agree with you here. Hidden Creations, he's going to make cannabis taste good. And when we did our cooking show back, very early in this podcast, one of the first
October
things,
2018, because I looked it up since you mentioned it.
yeah, 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 yeah. And we were talking to cooks there, and they were talking about the same thing, how cannabis always tastes green. When I make my famous ginger snap cannabis cookies, there is a little bit of greenness to the cookie. However, the ginger brings out the ginger snap, and it's a nice cookie to eat. I keep it deep in my freezer, and I keep it away from the grandchildren, obviously. Um, but uh, but yeah, this intrigued me about him making food to cooks. When we look at Hidden Creations, he he's creating a movement, right? If you go deep into his webpage, he talks about his YouTube channel. I've gone on his YouTube channel. He has a blog. The blog seems to be more personal than cannabis based, the reels that I watched. But he has his whole mission. I mean, the man has a mission, and he has a business plan that goes up to 10 years, and it's all on that their internets. And he really wants to create partnerships in cannabis and help other people understand cannabis, and make cannabis taste good. So I kind of like that. That's a good reason to have a story and have him in our library.
Absolutely. And because you were fascinated, and frankly, we're both fascinated because it's come on and off. What do you think about, and we're not trying to get Tariq in trouble or anyone in trouble, but just the semi-legal private parties with cannabis? Because, we've talked about that. If we were to do an event in Manitoba, legally, we couldn't rent a hall or rent a restaurant, or it would have to be in someone's house because you legally can't consume cannabis outside of basically a private residence here. What do you think about sort of the party scene in Miami that, if it's we're not sure if it's okay or just not enforced if you have a cannabis party at a private event?
Yeah, well, in the interview, I talked to him about that, again, and I apologize for our Canadian listeners, but I seem to be getting a lot of American stories right now. And it's fascinating the difference between America and Canada because we are federally legal, they are not federally legal. And we've talked about that many, many issues. And the state of Florida is a medicinal state only, so it's not recreational or well, they don't even like they. Yes, that confused me because I mean, here's a guy starting a business and it's illegal. So is it sort of circa Canada before legalization, where there is all these British Columbia businesses out there?
It's not. No, well, okay, neither of us are lawyers and neither of us live in Florida, but my 2 cents was, since Tarik is basically just teaching people how to use cannabis, he's not selling them any cannabis, he's not doing anything illegal that way. If the catered event, honestly, I think we're going more into a gray zone. So, even if he's got legal cannabis there, because he's got a medicinal card and maybe he's gifting it to the crowd and, they're just paying for the food. I don't know. That's a whole gray zone that, again, we're not trying to get anybody into trouble, but I'm going to assume it's all above board, or at the worst, it's sort of in a gray zone. But it is interesting in the games you have to play.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, in Canada, I mean, we have tried to hold cannabis events, and it's difficult. I mean, we tried to hold a barbecue, and we got one ticket sold, but then we tried to hold that barbecue in Dauphin, where we have, very few people that are probably interested in it. Um, well, I guess I'm going to put a plug out there and a cry out there. If anybody in our listener sphere is holding a cannabis infused party, call us and we'll do a live feed. Let's talk about it. I'm very curious with this because in Florida, cannabis is illegal even in your dwelling. So if you're having a cannabis infused party, that's that's illegal. In Canada, we can hold cannabis infused parties in a domicile in your dwelling, but we can't seem to find anybody doing it. It's it's so flipped. It's again, it goes back to that whole thing about what we're trying to do with this podcast is look at cannabis critically and how society is changing. We got a society in Florida that seems to be booming in cannabis. We got a society in Canada where cannabis is open and legal, and the industry has a big thumb on its back and so many regulations it can't do what it wants to do. It's fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating, and hence why I like this podcast so much.
Yeah, no, but yeah. So back to Tariq, I really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed the conversation. Really enjoyed the whole make cannabis taste good. Yeah, and anything else you have from Tariq or around the topic of cooking and cannabis and Florida?
No, but again, with looking at the gentleman's business plan and his want to connect with people, I hope that we stay connected to him. Like many of our guests, I hope to bump into him again in 5 years, figure out how his business is doing, and keep track of him because another interesting person in the cannabis industry. And yeah, so yeah, Florida man, another Florida man story. So I hope people like it. Um,
Absolutely. So
go
I'm
ahead.
Trevor Schufelt. I'm the pharmacist.
Still?
This has been still the pharmacist. This has been Reefer Med the podcast. Find us at reefermed.ca and at reefermedness at most of them their social medias. And you are
I am Kirk Nyquist. I'm the registered nurse, and I've been working on our webpage and working on our SEOs like other past guests we've had. I encourage people to go to our webpage. You can find all our stories there. You can link to our YouTube channel. We have a YouTube channel. We're getting some hits there, and you can also hit our audio podcast there, which goes to Blueberry. Um, and again, you can find us on social medias. You can find us on Spotify, and you can find us on iTunes. You can find us everywhere. But what's most important, if you like us, tell other people because I keep harping on this. So again, those people that listen to us, my point is Meta doesn't like us. We can't get social media to push us unless you do it. So if you're listening to us and you like us, push us on social media. Tell your friends that there's this podcast up here in the center of Canada doing good things. And yeah, Reefer Madness, the podcast. Here we are.
been another good one. We'll talk to everyone later.
Cheers.